After watching the build to WrestleMania 42 and AEW Dynasty, they have one huge difference, and that is welcome back, everybody, to Screw the Script. I'm your host, as always, Maverick here. Thanks for joining me this Thursday. Let's get right into the start of the video, the little cliffhanger that I left you on. We have been watching the build for WrestleMania 42 and the build for AEW Dynasty. And after sitting and watching that great episode of Dynamite last night, which I'll get to in a moment here, there is one glaring difference between WWE and AEW. One massive difference. And that is AEW is pro wrestling. WWE is no longer pro wrestling. I am firmly sitting here right now telling you I truly don't think WWE is a pro wrestling company anymore. I think they are just sports entertainment. A reality show, actually. That's probably the better way to term it. WWE is now just a reality show that has little to no wrestling whatsoever. Their biggest show of the year, WrestleMania, looking to have about 14 matches between night 1 and night 2. But guess what? Even though it's going to be 14 matches, probably like 6 more than what we're going to see at Dynasty, Dynasty is going to have 6 less matches, but they'll have at least an hour more of pro wrestling. That's not a joke. I am being dead honest with that opinion and that prediction. We'll find out by the end of the month how long the pro wrestling was for Dynasty, which is this upcoming weekend, and then how long the wrestling lasted for both night 1 and night 2 combined. About 14 matches for WrestleMania, and I guarantee you Dynasty will out-wrestle them. Not only in terms of time, but in quality. Now getting into Dynamite last night, their go-home show. That is how you do a fucking go-home show, WWE. Take notes, Triple H. Take notes, TKO. You probably need to rehire Road Dogg because SmackDown has been complete ass since you let him go. It was dog shit before he left. Now it's like dog shit with older dog shit on top of it. SmackDown is the worst pro wrestling show on television right now. Raw isn't too far behind. TNA as well, which I'll get into some juicy TNA news in a few minutes here. But Dynamite last night, look at this card. That is what you get from AEW for a go-home show, unlike WWE, who gives you 2/3 of the show as in promos and not matches. The show literally kicked off last night with a feud. We are seeing a feud, a storyline built for Forbidden Door, which I believe is after Double or Nothing, before All In, like July or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, because Double or Nothing is next after Dynasty. And then we've got Forbidden Door. I'm tired of these E-stands saying this bullshit, saying that AEW only wrestles, they don't know how to tell storylines. What are you talking about? There is going to be a storyline within this storyline, let me tell you that. We had United Empire versus Death Riders. The show opened up with them having chaos, beating the shit out of each other backstage in the parking lot, and it ended up being a match later on in the night. Callum Newman, who I've talked about briefly on this channel before, the youngest ever heavyweight champ for New Japan, 23 years young. The kid has got a bright future ahead of him. He's under the wing of Will Ospreay. I know he's going to be just fine. But there was some social media talk between the two of them last week, I believe, where Callum Newman dropped a little hint saying, I don't live in Ospreay's shadows anymore. He left to go to AEW and left me with United Empire. As far as I'm concerned, I'm the leader now. I think once they get through the Death Riders storyline, which will probably happen at Forbidden Door, I think we are going to eventually see a Callum Newman and Will Ospreay feud in the future. It may not even be immediately after this feud, but it is going to be circling back at some point in the future because AEW does know how to tell storylines. You also had Andrade, Mark Davis, and Takeshita face Darby Allin, Bandito, and Jack Perry. A superb match there. Glad to see Bandito back. He replaced Brody King because Brody King lost a close friend, unfortunately, so rest in peace to his friend there. as he skipped tonight, and Bandito being the great tag partner that he is, my favorite luchador in all of pro wrestling, he was able to replace him, and it was a fantastic match. Kenny Omega spoke live. We'll get to that in a minute. Willow and Queen Aminata had a really good women's match. This was the best women's match I've seen all week. Queen Aminata did not lose a step. She was out for, 4 months from an injury. I think she deserves gold around her waist at some point. Maybe a heel turn is likely for her. Jericho comes back, and my oh my. He just goes by Jericho now. He comes out and addresses the fans and says some interesting things. He says that he's had some winners, he's had some stinkers. That's what happens when you take chances in pro wrestling. He then said that he's back to just elevate AEW as a company. He wants the best for them. He doesn't want all the spotlight. All good things from Chris Jericho that I wanted to hear. And then out comes Ricochet, and one thing led to another. These two are going to have a match at Dynasty, and Chris Jericho brought back the list of Jericho, putting Ricochet on it. Absolutely hilarious. Tommaso Ciampa and Mascara Dorada for the number one spot in the Casino Gauntlet match. Ciampa wins that. So I'm excited to see where this goes, as the news did break that Kyle Fletcher had to relinquish the belt. So we're getting a gauntlet match at Dynasty. And then Omega and MJF having a fantastic promo battle again. This show went over about 30 minutes over. That, again, WWE, take your fucking notes, because that is how you do a go-home show. We saw Edge and Christian, Adam Copeland and Christian Cage come out. Christian says he fucks mothers. Both FTR's mothers. Got one company saying jizz, like a 14-year-old that's like, "Ooh, I just said jizz." And then the other company just says it like it is. He fucks your mom. That's the difference in the ceilings between PG and a TV 14. Take a look at that Dynasty updated card. And again, going back to my claim, AEW is pro wrestling. This is the updated Dynasty card. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 matches plus a 9th for the Casino Gauntlet match, which will probably kick off the pay-per-view. 9 matches, so about 5 matches less than WrestleMania, but they'll probably have an hour more of pro wrestling. This show is likely to go until like 11. So it's going to be 4 hours of basically non-stop pro wrestling. WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2 will probably each only have an hour and a half of actual wrestling, not including their drawn-out, long-ass entrances. This is going to be the better pay-per-view of the month of April. I will do a prediction video on my Saturday video for Dynasty. On to some TNA news real quick. Carlos Silva, MLP sources believe he was not happy with AEW Collision running opposite TNA Impact. We all know the story there. Collision, on the night that they normally aren't on, doubled TNA's viewership and ratings. It embarrassed them. I don't want to hear this shit anymore that TNA is the number 2. Eric Bischoff can go suck a dick. It's not even number 3. I think it's behind New Japan. I think MLP's quickly becoming better than them. They're probably at the 5 or 6 spot, personally, is what I believe. And this is just petty, because we are about to see MJF versus Nick Nemeth, and just a damn shame that he had to do that. And now on to WWE, why they are just a reality show at this point. Pat McAfee, WWE's reworking elements of the WrestleMania angle with him, because it's a fucking fail. Danhausen's going to get a freaking face on the Sphere or whatever for Vegas. He's challenging Miz and Kit Wilson. I don't care about that. It's going to be a 5-minute squash. Trick Williams saying that Lil Yachty is going to learn how to wrestle and he'll be the next Jelly Roll, and just more and more celebrities. This is why it feels like reality TV now and not pro wrestling. If you can have a guy like Lil Yachty, who's a tiny-ass rapper, granted, I do like some of his stuff, come in and wrestle and just pick it up like that, it diminishes what it takes to become a pro wrestler, and I really don't like it. And then you got guys who actually are legit pro wrestlers. Powerhouse Will Hobbs, now the shitty name Royce Keys. He has had 9 dark matches. He's apparently finally making his SmackDown debut tomorrow night, but the dude is 41. He should have been featured immediately. He's probably going to get the LA Knight treatment. He'll have nothing better than a mid-card title run or 2 most in his career, and then he will be gone by the time he hits 45. And lastly, my DDT of this video. This comes from Brandon Vasquez. He goes on to say, Tony Khan will not be able to crow AEW if he lets ideas like the one Lio Rush had pushed recently. That gimmick does not work for AEW. Supernatural characters don't work at a place that only cares about flippy flop, top rope high spots, and absolutely zero storytelling. He is wrong in 5 aspects here? 1, Lio Rush, having that Blackheart Lio Rush, had millions of streams across all platforms, so you're wrong there. AEW doesn't only care about flippy flop stuff. MJF is not a flip-floppy wrestler, and he's the world champ, and he's better than you, and you know it. Top rope high spots, not all the time does that happen, and absolutely zero storytelling, he goes on to say. I literally just gave you a storyline that's starting 2 months ahead of the next pay-per-view that they'll probably wrestle at, and a storyline that's probably going to likely happen and come from within the storyline. This is why Brandon Vasquez...
You just made the list!
I had to bring the Chris Jericho thing in one more time, but Brandon Vasquez, you are this video's DDT. That's all I had on this episode of Screw the Script. Let me know down below if you agree with my statement that the glaring difference between the two promotions is that WWE is just reality now, reality shows, and AEW is pro wrestling. As always, this has been Maverick with Screw the Script. Thanks for watching.